Welcome back, everybody. So in this module, we're going to learn all about the cleaning systems. What are the different ways that we can clean carpet, the different styles of cleaning that we can use. So I suggest you learn all of them, or as many as you possibly can. Have them available to you in the truck, whether it be shampooing upholstery or doing an encapsulation clean on a vacant building. It doesn't really matter. We need to know as much as we can know so we can clean effectively and we can give exactly what the customer needs for their exact situation. So let's get right into it. Make sure you give a thumbs up if you're getting value out of this. Make sure you subscribe because there's still more on the way. And let's get right into it. I'll see you in the next module.
Welcome to Professional Carpet Cleaning, Module 7, Cleaning Systems. Most of this module will be video demonstrations of each method or cleaning system. You'll get a good idea of how each system works and how to perform each type of cleaning efficiently and properly. We're going to be covering 5 systems that are most common in cleaning carpet today. There are other systems out there. They're just not in use as much today as they used to be in the past, and they're not as effective as some of the other systems as well. You should know how each of these systems works. You should become proficient in as many as you can. You don't need to know how to do all of them or have the equipment to do every single one of these systems, but I would suggest you know at least 2 or 3 how to do them, have some equipment that you can perform the right method for each particular carpet that you're cleaning. Most of the time you'll be sticking to one method, but there may be times where you'll come across a carpet that you will need to employ a different method or a different type of cleaning in order to clean it properly or safely. So we're going to be covering these 5 systems: hot water extraction, absorbent pad, encapsulation, absorbent powder, and dry foam. So the first method we're going to cover is going to be hot water extraction. Hot water extraction is going to be the most effective at removing the most amount of soil. So for a restorative type of cleaning where you're trying to remove as much soil as possible, this needs to be your go-to method. Now, if you're not using this method as your standard method of cleaning, there's going to be some jobs that you should turn down because you're just not going to be able to clean them effectively. If you're cleaning dirty apartments and there's areas where the consumer had pet accidents, really heavy soils, a lot of oil, you're just not going to be able to effectively clean them with some of these other methods. It is really the only method that you can clean a pet contamination with properly, because in that type of situation you have to have some ability to extract or rinse to properly remove the pet contamination. Now, there are some disadvantages. Hot water extraction is really labor intensive. It's hard work. It's not going to be easy. It's going to require you to use your body and to work hard. The equipment costs can be expensive. Not always. You can buy used equipment. You can start with portables. And don't think that if I buy used equipment, it's just going to break down on me. But most of the systems out there, whether it be portable or truck-mounted units, are really efficient. They work well. They'll give you a good long lifespan. With the portable units, they're very repairable as well. So if a vacuum motor goes out, all you have to do is buy a new vacuum motor, replace it in a matter of minutes, and you're back and running. So that type of system as well, you can replace or repair anything that breaks on those units. So it makes it very easy for you to, at a low cost, buy some portable equipment and get started without having to spend money on a big truck and a truck-mounted unit. Another disadvantage of this system is it does take time to dry, so it is going to be the longest dry times. But remember, in the previous modules, you can speed drying with certain equipment, fans, knowing how to set up a home to dry. So you need to make sure that you know all those so you can remedy the dry times. A customer never wants to wait days for a carpet to dry. Plus, if it's taking longer than 24 hours, you've damaged their carpet. So you need to make sure that drying takes place quickly and efficiently. So now we're going to go into the video for hot water extraction, and here it is. So this is the home we're going to be doing the demonstration in for hot water extraction. It's a 2-story home. You can see here the staircase, and then we got 3 bedrooms upstairs, the master bedroom, and then 2 smaller bedrooms. Nothing's really dirty in this home, but it is soiled. Definitely needs to be cleaned. We have a red spot there along with a little bit of a brown spot of some sort. The traffic lanes are dirty but not really bad, so it's going to lend itself well to a hot water extraction cleaning. We have some gray spots here and there in those rooms. Traffic lanes, not too bad, but definitely have some spots that need to be cleaned out. In this room, there's a couple of spots and a fairly bad traffic lane, nothing too crazy. There's a coffee spot there. I'll be showing you how to treat those. That's the traffic lane. And then that's about it. So not a really big house, but it'll be nice to see how it's done for you. We're going to start all the cleaning demonstrations with vacuuming. This is one of the most important steps. The more soil you leave behind that's dry soil before you apply the wet is going to be a problem for you later on. So you see in this traffic lane I'm doing extra passes, 2-3 passes in one spot, and then overlapping maybe 50% and then working your way across. Then as you get to maybe a cleaner area, you can move a little quicker. You can just do 1 or 2 passes and just work your way through the home. Remember, don't skip the step. It is very important and it's going to give you a better cleaning in the long run. Now we're on to pre-spraying. Now we're going to cover 2 types of pre-spray methods. This sprayer right here is from a pump-up sprayer. Just standard type of sprayer you can get at any garden store. You put your cleaning product into it and then you proceed to pump it up, get a little bit of pressure in it, and then you start spraying. You'll get a decent amount of spray time between pumps. Pump it pretty hard. You can get quite a bit of pressure in those before it causes you any kind of problem and gives you a nice good spray. Do your edges, do your traffic lanes more than your non-traffic lanes. Now this is a Hydroforce sprayer. This connects to either your truck mount unit or your portable unit, and it uses the water pump from in that unit to pressurize a mix tank. And that mix tank has your solution in it. And then as that water comes through, it draws the solution up, dilutes it automatically, and then gives you a really beautiful spray pattern. Make sure your jet is new. You don't want to let your jet wear out. It gets kind of a rougher spray pattern. You can't get your edges really easy. Now here I'm going to stop temporarily and I'm going to pull my hose up. Right now it's sitting at the landing on the bottom or the kind of halfway through the staircase. And you don't want to start yanking those hoses around your baseboards and around your door frames. It's really going to cause a problem with dragging paint off those baseboards. So make sure you have hose that is not dragging around your baseboards. You'll notice I go around the home spraying the edges first. I like to do this just to make sure, if you look right there, I'm getting right down into that edge crevice. Don't get it soaking wet, but you want to make sure that it gets damp enough to loosen any soils that have gathered in that crevice. A lot of times there'll be homes that have really dark edges along the sides, and that's called filtration soil, and we'll go over that in another module. You just want to work through. Now you see I did a double pass there on that traffic lane, and then I can go a little bit quicker on that other area there. So just work your way through the home. Now as you're working with this type of spray system, you'll notice the hose is going to tend to want to get into your way. It's not that big a deal. Make sure you're spraying extra like I did on that coffee spot, on any spot that you see. It doesn't have to be, again, soaking wet, but give it a little bit extra. Now, as I was talking about, the hoses are going to get in your way. If you don't have a helper with you, you're just going to have to learn to work with your feet and kick it back behind you. If you choose to spray this method, a lot of times if you spray from the front of the house, the front door, towards the back, it's a little easier because you don't have to worry about kicking that hose behind you so much. This house didn't lend itself too well to that way of doing it. Now this is treating a red spot prior to scrubbing. The newer Red 1 products by Pro's Choice are excellent for this type of thing. You'll spray the spot before you scrub the carpet, and it's going to sit there active until you extract. Now this is hand scrubbing. This is a brush that I've had probably 15 to 20 years, and I haven't been able to find another one, but this is my preferred scrub brush. If I can manage to find out where I can purchase more of these, I will definitely let you know. You may be having to scrub this way with a grooming brush. It will still do a decent job with the grooming brush. If you come across any spots, just give it a little extra back and forth action there to loosen those spots up, and just work your way through the room, spending extra time again in those traffic lanes. The traffic lanes are what you want to make sure you're going to work the hardest on. You want to get those traffic lanes looking really sharp for your customer. Just work your way back. Now here I'm going to show you a little trick that I do. No, it's not high tech, but it really gets really good on those edges. If you have a really dark edge where there's filtration soil or just a lot of dirt stuck in that crevice, you can use your shoe to loosen that up. Now here we're going to scrub the stairs. Again, not rocket science, just give it a good scrub. If there's any spots, scrub it a little bit better on the spots. As you're working your way up, you can again use your shoe to get that outside edge. It's really hard to get it with the brush, so you can use your shoe again just on your way up. Just give it a real back and forth with your shoe. Now this is a power scrubber that we call a floor machine. This is that machine that if you're using it on a carpet under warranty, it's going to be a problem. You can't use anything like this on a carpet that is under warranty. If it's ever found out that you did and they have a claim, they're going to void their claim because you used a floor machine. If anybody happens to see you, then it's going to be on you. So I just kind of pick a pattern. You know, this isn't my normal pattern, but it's just for demonstration purposes. Just work your way around the room. Pick a pattern you like, work from the back of the house to the front of the house. It's typically how I did it. You can do it from the front to the back as well, but then you have to work your way back through the house again. So either way, it really doesn't matter. You just go room by room and work your way. Every house is different. Sometimes I'll work from the back, sometimes I work from the front. It just doesn't matter. So usually it's pretty easy to figure out. As you come over the spots, you'll see this spot here. It's some sort of, might be soda. It really doesn't matter what it is. Spend a little bit of extra time. You don't want to just sit in one spot with this machine, but move it, pass it over back and forth over the spot. And you want it to look like that, just about gone, without you really having to do anything. Then when you extract, it makes your job all that much easier. The spot's almost gone. All you really have to do is just rinse it away, and you're done with that room. So no extra work. You don't have to treat the spot separately with any kind of spot cleaner. And then just work your way through. And now this machine is called a Brush Pro. There's a few different brands that make a similar machine. The Brush Pro is an excellent machine. It's well made. Edges with this machine is really easy. You really don't need to do anything else. Once this machine goes up next to it, it's just right, those brushes are just right on that edge, so it's really does a really good job with scrubbing. This will not void the warranties. So if you're going to get if you're going to be doing a lot of power scrubbing, you may think about this machine. You can do other methods with this machine as well, like an encapsulation method. This machine works really well for that as well. So you again just work your way through in a pattern. What's nice about this machine is it's very low fatigue. It's very, I'm using one hand to run it, so very, very easy to use. And the main thing is you're just going to make sure you hit all the spots in this room. You can see the pattern there. It goes over the carpet, and it's really just, it's pulling it up. Here's the corner guards. You want to make sure you're using these. You don't want to mark up your customer's walls with your hoses. Now here is the extraction step. This is really where the cleaning is starting. Everything else was just prep work. Now you're actually removing the dirt from the carpet. So as I'm going across here, I do a double wet pass and a double dry pass. It means I'm going to go one direction with water, and then we go right back the other direction with water again. As I'm using this wand, I'm pulling a trigger, and I'll show you that in the next little section. There's a little bit of lint from that Brush Pro, not a big deal, just suck it up. There's a constant vacuum with this machine. Whether you're using a portable or a truck mount, there's going to have a constant vacuum, and then you're in control of the water. So now you see I did the one pass all the way across, and now I'm coming back across again with water. So I'm using that trigger, and we go all the way to that outside wall there. Now when I come to the wall, I'm going to lift up the side of my wand right there, and that is just to spray a little bit of water right on that edge, and then I go immediately and suck it back up, and that's going to help to get that edge clean. Now when I'm doing my double dry pass, I do it a little bit differently. I like to create a pattern that I know I'm not going to miss anything. So I just stay in one spot and I do 2 passes and I move it over about 75%, overlapping a little bit, and I do 2 more passes all the way across the carpet, all the way till I get to the other side. So just do a 1, 2, and then again 1, 2, watch the overlap, and then you're done with your dry passes, and then you start over again, back up and do some more. Now here's the trigger method that I was telling you about. Watch my hand on that trigger. See how I let off at the front and the back of each pass, and that's going to prevent there from being any kind of puddling that happens. If you don't do that, and I'll show you in a second, it creates a puddle and therefore creating a problem for you. So here's the way it should look. As that letting off the trigger, you can see that the spray pattern stops at the front end and then also on the back end of each pass. So as you're working your way across, there's a little bit closer up for you. So you can see that spray pattern stop when it gets to the back half. And then as I'm going to show you here, this is the way you don't want to do it. This is if I'm going to just keep the spray on no matter what I'm doing. And you can see I stopped a little bit long there just to kind of show you what it looks like when it creates a puddle. So that little bit of a puddle problem there, and then as you do your extraction, if the carpet's really dirty, it can be a problem doing that. Here is cleaning edges. Again, you can lift your wand up and go lengthwise. This tends to get it even better. So I tend to do most of my really dirty edges like this. Not all the edges, but it does a really good job of getting your edges totally clean. Now when you come up to an outside edge of carpet, whether it's coming to a hard surface like wood or tile or something like this, you want to only push one direction. Now this isn't a hard and fast rule. Some carpets can take it. Some carpets have a really good outside edge and you can pull over them. But just as a precaution, just go forward and you will never have a problem with it. This stroke is called a chop stroke. When you have a stubborn spot, it gives a little extra agitation to help you remove that spot out. So just back and forth, up and down with your trigger on and then extract. So really easy. Now when you're cleaning stairs, there's 2 ways you can go, 2 types of equipment. This is the hand tool. Obviously it's just held in your hand and you go back and forth. The same thing, you pull the trigger and that's the water out, and then you go over it and you can extract without the water. And then when it comes to the edges, I'll show you in a second, you just block a little bit of that vacuum port and it allows you to get right on that edge. So you go to both sides of the stairs. It's a little bit more labor intensive to use a hand tool, but it does a really good job. So if you have a dirty staircase, you might want to do that. Now this is where I'm going to block that edge of that tool. So I'm just blocking about 50% of that vacuum port, and it allows you to clean that really kind of rounded edge there. It allows you to get it totally clean. So there I'm blocking it again. Now this is a stair tool. So it's just a really short cleaning wand. It's not quite as wide, it's not quite as long, and allows you to stand upright when you're cleaning stairs. So it makes it a little bit easier on your body. Now here you just turn it over and you go on your uppers. Straight up, and then on the edges you just want to do that. Just kind of drag it down right over the top of that edge and then a little bit sideways, whatever you need to do your extraction. And then as you're working your way down, you just extract each stair, and one stair at a time. Now this is after the cleaning. There was a little bit of a pink still left in that red spot. So I'm going to show you a red spot removal. Sometimes it will go away 100%, sometimes it will be a little bit left. Now this towel is soaking wet. It's not dripping, but it is very wet, and you're putting a hot iron directly on it, and it's going to create what's called a steam chamber. Now the steam is what's going to remove that spot. So now I set this iron right about, you'll see between the 4 and 5. You want it on a low steam setting. So the orange there is steam, so it's going to tell me that it's going to be pushing steam out. A lot of your steam is going to come from the towel itself, but some of it will come from the iron. I always just go to a yard sale and buy the cheapest iron you can find. You can usually get 2 or 3 if you just go out on a weekend yard sale, and that'll a lot of those irons will just work great for years and years, but just buy 2 or 3 and back up. You will wear them out. They get bounced around in the back of the van, and tend to wear out fairly quickly. So what we do is we just wait for about a minute. You want to check it after about a minute or so, and pull it up, and there it is. It's gone. That typically will work. Any kind of Kool-Aid, Gatorade, things of that nature will come out pretty readily. Now here's that coffee spot in that room. It is almost gone with the cleaning, but you have a little bit of the dye from the coffee still in there. Now this is Stain Magic, also Pro's Choice product. You spray it on, give it a little bit of agitation, and just leave it alone. You don't have to do anything extra to it, and it should 95% of the time just fades it out. Now this is grooming, so another step that you don't want to skip. A lot of people will say, I don't really need to groom it, it's clean. In this case it's a rental, I'm not going to really worry about it, but I don't buy into it. Some carpets will actually hold your foot traffic as you clean it. Your wand marks will actually hold it. You'll get there the next year to clean it again, and those wand marks will still be there. They'll actually become ingrained in that fiber, and you have to re-wet it to remove them. So I would much rather remove them and give them a nice fluffy carpet surface rather than trying to save 10-15 minutes of time in groom time. I can groom it 10-15 minutes, you're done. In this case probably 5 or so to get that upper floor groomed and then down the stairs, so not a big deal. Don't forget behind the doors. It's easy to just I don't really want to worry about that, but just get it all done. Give your carpet a good grooming, give the customer what they've paid you to do, and then right out the door. Now this is drying. If you look here on my phone, 103 degrees, 24% humidity that particular day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the windows. It is a rental, nobody's living there. I can open the windows comfortably. If your customer is going to be gone as well, tell them, hey, this is the fastest way to do it. You can as well as opening windows, or in lieu of opening windows, you can use air movement. It's a good idea just to use air movement on every job. If you have the blowers, bring them along, and you can almost dry each room as you go and give them a dry surface when you leave. This is the final walkthrough. You'll notice going up the stairs look good and clean, groomed. This looks beautiful. This is what your customer wants. Your customer doesn't want dirty traffic lanes left behind. They don't want a coffee spot still there in the corner. They want it all gone. So you just do the best job you can. You have the equipment, you have the knowledge to do it. You can provide them with a really decent cleaning. Now you'll see as we go through here, those little gray spots were in this room. They're now gone. It's groomed, it's nice, it's beautiful. The red spot is gone. The customer's just going to be really happy with this product. You're not going to get any complaints, and you're going to get callbacks year after year.
The next cleaning system is going to be Absorbent Pad. This method uses a 175 RPM floor machine in conjunction with an absorbent pad, and you can see on the right hand side there are several types of absorbent pads. You have thin, thick, some that have stripes. Those stripes typically are an olefin fiber, and it produces a little bit of heat and agitation. Some of the really thick pads, like the one pictured on top and the one in use in the center picture, it's a little bit overkill on the amount of cotton in use in those pads. You're not going to be able to absorb that much extra into that pad, even though there's a lot of fiber there. Sometimes it's just easier to launder and easier to carry around the smaller, thinner pads. You may change them out a little bit quicker during the job, but they're going to do the same job for you. This type of system is used extensively in the commercial market. A lot of janitorial companies will use this method. They learned it a long time ago and they stick by it. There's been some changes chemical-wise, and I believe you should be using an encapsulant cleaning chemical rather than a bonnet cleaning chemical, even though some of the bonnet cleaning products have very good embrittling agents in them. I would stick with an encapsulation cleaning chemical for this system. Vacuuming the dry soil. Remember, don't skip this step when you're doing any kind of a drier cleaning or low moisture cleaning. You've got to get the sand and the dirt out of the carpet as much as possible, because remember, as soon as you add liquid, you're going to be making mud. This system has no ability to remove dirt or mud
from the base of the carpet. You have to dry vacuum that out. With this system, you're going to spray a detergent. Now that's either going to be a bonnet cleaner or an encapsulation agent. And as I said, you should be using an encapsulation agent with this method. It's just going to dry to the crystal and it's going to give you a better outcome. You're going to spray about 1 to 300 square feet. So if you're cleaning a house with this method, you're probably going to go room by room, finish each room, and then go on to the next room. So don't go spraying too much because we're not soaking the carpet. We're just getting it damp. As soon as it starts to dry, you run the risk of running that pad over dry carpet, and that's going to do damage. The main thing is with a bonnet cleaning or absorbent pad cleaning is you need to make sure that there's a sufficient amount of moisture on the floor. If it runs dry, you're going to damage the carpet. It's just too aggressive of an agitation. As the pad runs over the carpet, so after you spray, you're going to start running that pad over the top of the carpet. It's going to work at absorbing the soils from the carpet. So as the chemical emulsifies the soil, you run the pad over the top of the carpet, and now you're absorbing the encapsulant or the bonnet cleaner chemical along with the soil that it's emulsified. As those pads become saturated with soil or saturated with moisture, you're going to flip it and then you're going to change it out. So as you go over the carpet, you're going to notice, okay, I'm pulling some soil, especially at the beginning. Then as you move across the carpet, you're going to notice that that pad is going to become really dirty. It's going to be absorbing all that soil and all the chemical, and you need to flip it. So flip it to the clean side and then go again. I do suggest that you go different directions. So go one way across the room and then switch and go the other way. You'll see that in the video that I tend to go 2 passes all the way to 4 passes. Each pass I go a different direction, and that's just going to make sure that I go and hit all the different sides of the carpet. You don't want to just do one pass because it's not going to be sufficient. You need to at least do 2 passes. Even if the carpet appears to be clean, it's really not. Most carpets, even if they look clean, are containing a certain amount of soil. So do a sufficient job, do a couple passes, do a couple flips or new pads, change them out. Because remember, we're not extracting, we're absorbing. We got to make sure we absorb the maximum amount of soil out of that carpet. So the disadvantages for this is residue. That's why we need to use an encapsulation detergent. An encapsulation detergent is going to crystallize. It's not going to dry and have any kind of residue. In fact, the residue that it does have is what's called a beneficial residue. It's going to actually repel new soils from becoming attached to the fibers. It's going to coat the fibers and give it kind of a protection. Not really a protection, but it is going to help to shed any soils that may come in contact. Most of that crystalline detergent is going to break loose when the consumer's vacuuming, but there's going to be a certain amount that's left behind. Again, no extraction capability. You're not extracting soil, you're absorbing soil. Now with this method, it's very important that we understand that this method will void the carpet warranties. If you're dealing with a new carpet, do not do this method ever. If you do this method on a new carpet, you will void their warranty. And if the customer tries to make a claim and it is found out that you bonnet cleaned or absorbent pad cleaned this carpet, they're going to come knocking on your door and you're going to be on the hook for buying them new carpet. So remember, know what you're cleaning. Do not void your customer's warranty. Now that being said, this method done properly, I don't believe damages the fibers. I think where you run into trouble is when you leave the carpet too dry and you're running the pad over the top of it too aggressively, and it's going to distort the carpet fibers. If done properly with a sufficient amount of moisture, it's not going to tear up the carpet. Now let's go on to the video and see how this method looks. As I mentioned in the last video, we're going to be showing you vacuuming, or at least telling you to vacuum in every job. Don't skip it. You've got to remove that dry soil before you make the carpet wet. Now next with the spraying. Again, you can spray with a pump up or the Hydroforce. As we mentioned in the last video, it's important that you make it sufficiently wet and it's even. You don't want to have areas that are more wet than others. Make it as even as you can. If you're just doing a couple of rooms, use the pump up. If you're doing more of a whole house, you can elect to use the Hydroforce and hook it into your machine or portable unit and just spray what areas that you need. When you're doing a bonnet clean, you don't want to spray the whole house down. You want to go room by room, or at the most a couple rooms. You're not spraying as much, but you want it sufficiently moist. Now before you start using the pad, you want to make sure it's lubricated, and that's simply spray a little bit of the bonnet cleaner down on both sides of the bonnet, and then you're ready to use it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put it down in front of the machine and lower it down on top of it, and that machine has what's called a drive block on it, and that's going to hold on to that pad, and when you hit power on the machine, it's going to spin it. Again, it's a 175 RPM machine, and it's just going to spin that pad. As you can see on the bottom there, it's just spinning it around. As it spins, that pad is going to be absorbing as much of the soil and the chemical or cleaner that you elect to use, whether it's an encapsulant or a bonnet cleaning specialty cleaner. As it's spinning, so it's going to be absorbing those two things out. You want to get right up next to the edge with that bonnet. It does a pretty good job on the edges. Corners are a little bit different. You're going to have to do those by hand. They do sell small hand bonnets where you can do it by hand, and you just go around to your corners and you actually just absorb what you can. It's almost like you're just using a towel, and you're going to be absorbing it out of the carpet. Now remember, if you use an encapsulant, it's going to crystallize, and you're not going to have any kind of residue. Sorry for the jumpiness on the camera. I was telling her to do a few different things that weren't as easy to get up and down off the ground. There's a little spot there. You can see the gray. Now I went over it once, and I'm going to go over here twice. It's still there a little bit, but what we're going to look at is I'm not just going to do the 2 passes. I tend to do 3 different directions across the carpet if I can. Sometimes there's furniture and it doesn't make it as easy to do, but that first pass went one direction, and then I go opposite way and go through that same area once again, and then I do a third pass. Try to go diagonally, or if I can't go diagonally, I'll just do a third pass on one of the original 2 directions. Once those are done, typically I'm good to go on that room. If you have some spotting that you need to take care of, you can get in a little closer with maybe a towel or a hand bonnet and try to do that. Now when you're done with a room, or it's a really dirty room and you've saturated that pad with soil, you're going to need to flip it to the clean side and then go at it some more. You want to keep going until that pad doesn't absorb any more soil. So you're going to flip it or change it until you realize, okay, the carpet's clean, I'm not pulling any more soil. And then of course you're going to groom it. We groom every carpet that we clean, not just the ones you think they're important to do. So make sure you're removing all your marks and the carpet is clean and ready for use.
Next, we have encapsulation. Now this system is going to look similar in practice to an absorbent pad or a bonnet cleaning. However, it is very different. It's going to employ different types of agitation, and it's important to remember the key to encapsulation is agitation. The more agitation you have, the better this system will work. This system uses a liquid polymer pre-spray, and what that is just a liquid plastic. As it dries, it's going to crystallize into a polymer or a hard plastic. After this chemical's applied, it's agitated. Now you can use absorbent pads, and that's what I would recommend on a residential cleaning. You want to absorb the soil out of the carpet. With a commercial setting, I suggest one of 2 ways: a counter-rotating brush machine or scrubbing pads. Sometimes the scrubbing pads are used for hard surface floors. You'll find them at janitorial supply houses. A red pad is fine. You can also use what's called a Hogs Hair Pad. You want to use a light one, not a real aggressive pad. Red pad is fine, or something similar to a red. Now if you're using a pad, you don't want to use a pad on a cut pile carpet. Only a loop. Now most of the time, this cleaning is only going to be done on a commercial setting. Level loop carpet is really common in a commercial setting, so the tight loops, the scrubbing pads, are not going to damage. Again, just like in the absorbent pad, we need to make sure that there's a sufficient amount of lubrication. You don't want to run a scrubbing pad over any carpet that isn't dampened. So you need to make sure you have it sufficiently damp before you hit it with the scrubbing pad. Now, bear in mind, same thing goes here. You will void a warranty.
if the carpet has a warranty, don't use a scrubbing pad. Instead, you'll want to use the counter-rotating brush. This is a machine that has 2 brushes that rotate opposite directions. That will keep the warranty intact. I'll demo both of those methods in the video. Now, the difference with this system is that you're not actually attempting to remove the soil. I know it sounds really strange, but we're not actually pulling any soil out. Now, with the scrubbing pad, you are going to get a little bit that attaches itself to that pad, but it's not significant. Our goal isn't removal of soil here. Now, the soil will be removed, but not by us. Either the consumer or the janitorial staff at the building will be removing the soil in their normal vacuuming. And how this works is, as that polymer pre-spray dries, or the encapsulation detergent dries, it's going to surround the soil, emulsify it, and then it's going to dry to a crystal. So the emulsified oils, as well as the soils, as they dry, are going to be contained. They're contained in that crystal. Now, what that does is it renders the soil harmless. It's not going to do any more damage to the fibers, and it will break loose from the fibers and be removed during the normal vacuuming. And it sounds really weird, and a lot of people are scared of this method. They don't understand how it works. My suggestion to you is to try it. Find a building that's sufficiently dirty. Now, you can see in the pictures there, you can do a lot with this method. Don't be afraid to try it on dirty carpet. Now, I would not use it on a commercial setting like a restaurant. It's not really good with oils, so it doesn't like heavy oil like a restaurant would have. But it does work extremely well on foot traffic. So if you're in a lawyer's office or a church or some sort of office setting, this method works absolutely stunningly well. You can see on those bottom pictures the final product that you can achieve. Now, this is a low moisture cleaning, so the consumer can also get back in action really quick on this carpet. They don't have to wait for it to dry an extremely long period of time. It's typically dry in an hour or 2, so really quick to get back on that carpet. Now, the disadvantages: we're not removing soil. That is a disadvantage, and it's not. So we're not trying to remove the soil, so it's important to know that we're not removing it, but we're encapsulating it. So it's rendered harmless, and it will come out of the carpet. And next is the pile distortion. You need to be careful. Make sure that you have a sufficient amount of detergent down on the carpet so you're not running a dry pad or dry brushes over the top of this carpet. You're going to damage it, especially if you're cleaning an olefin. A dry pad on an olefin carpet will provide enough heat in a very short period of time that you will melt that carpet. Also, this method works better on a nylon than it does on an olefin, I believe, because of the oils. The oils tend to want to stick to an olefin, and it's difficult to remove. You need a higher pH cleaning product. So sometimes a hot water extraction is going to work much better if you have an olefin in a commercial setting to release those oils. So let's watch the video on this method. So here's a church that we're doing in my city, and you can see this is the youth room upstairs in the church. So you can see a lot of various spills, whether they're from coffee, tea, sodas, who knows what. It's a youth room, and they do have a coffee bar in here, so it could be anything. Now what I'm doing here is just spraying down the encapsulant. You want to do, when you're spraying an encapsulant, a sufficient amount. I don't want it sopping wet, but I want it sufficiently moist. You're going to be using a pad on this that's fairly aggressive. So what's important is that there be plenty of lubrication. If you feel like you're going over it and the pad seems like it's grabbing or sticking, you want to stop and respray it. Spray a sufficient amount and you won't have a problem. You won't need to stop. You can spray quite a bit of floor at one time, even a 200 or 300 square feet, as long as you get enough moisture. That is what's called right there a Hogs Hair Pad. It's fairly aggressive. They have several versions of those. You can get a light or you can get a heavy. That is the heavy one. I use quite a bit of Agitation for this floor, just because it is dirty. There's a lot of spots that I need to get out, and the more aggressive I am, the quicker the work is. This is a level loop carpet, so it's not going to be a problem with me tearing up the carpet. As you go over it, yes, you're having quite a bit of agitation, but it's a level loop, it's flat to the floor, you're not going to be destroying the loops. It's just going to glide over the top. As long as you have enough lubrication, you won't have any problems with any kind of destruction of the fiber or anything of the sort. Now, as you see as I'm going over here, it's pretty incredible how this product works. There was some pretty dark spots there. Go over them a couple times and it just disappears. It's almost like you have an eraser for those marks. And what's neat about this product is it's a crystallizer, so it's going to crystallize as it dries. So any of those spots that are sugary or coffee are going to want to tend to be crystallized. So all the sugars are going to be crystallized and they're not going to return. Some of the coffees you could have a problem with because they're going to have a little bit of dye in the coffee. Now here we're scrubbing with the Brush Pro. I did mention that machine was good for several things. This is another thing that you can use the Brush Pro for. Now they do come in different sizes. The Brush Pro that's a 17-inch. They do have a 20-inch as well. The 17 is better for working in houses, around furniture, and the 20 obviously is better for this type of situation. Now you can see there where I stopped that the Brush Pro at, you can see that spot is half clean right where I ran the unit. So it's pretty effective. This is the light brush set. It's a blue brush set. It's not quite as aggressive. If you want a little bit more aggressive set, you can use, they have 3 different types. I believe this was the softest of the 3, but it seemed to be very effective at getting it clean. Now I did go in 2 different places there, but you can actually go in one direction back and forth and be very effective as well. Now here's the after. So you can see that's before, and then we'll look over here, and that is the after. We did half with the Brush Pro and half with the scrubber, both very effective. But that is an encapsulation cleaning.
Next system we're going to cover is the absorbent powder method. This method isn't as popular as some of the others. It involves using a compound. Now the compound is damp. It's not wet to the touch, but you can feel that there's some moisture in it. Now remember, you have to vacuum. This is a low moisture system. No extraction is going to happen. So vacuuming is key. You have to vacuum very thoroughly before you start this method. Once the vacuuming is done, we're going to sprinkle some of the compound on the carpet. And then the compound is going to be agitated with a machine that has 2 counter-rotating brushes. It's pictured there on the right-hand side. That's just one brand. There's several brands that are making those. The Brush Pro on the top right seems to be the best one that I've seen, and I'll be demoing that in the video for this system. As the compound comes into contact with the soil, it releases from the fiber and absorbs into the compound. In a sense, it's emulsifying the oils and the soils into the compound. So the compound is more absorbent than the fiber. After the compound has become saturated with soil, it will actually turn color if there's a sufficient amount of dirt on the carpet and oils. The compound's going to be changing to a darker shade. Then the compound is vacuumed away. With those counter-rotating brush systems, the one pictured on the bottom right there, those 2 metal containers attached to the front and the back of that system, and they will actually remove the compound for you without an additional vacuum. You may still want to run a vacuum over it just to make sure that it's sufficiently removed, especially if it's a pile carpet, because sometimes that pile can get compound down inside it and can be hard to remove. So it's one of the disadvantages of that powder. Can be difficult. But those systems do work well. Those counter-rotating brush units do work well at removing the compound. Now recently I've seen some modifications made with this method. They're using it in conjunction with an encapsulation pre-spray. The pre-spray is added prior to the application of the compound. The encapsulation chemical emulsifies the soil and the compound absorbs it. So basically what's happening is we're merging the encapsulation and the absorbent powder methods, and I'll be showing you how that works in this video as well. Again, one major disadvantage is we're not rinsing, so there's no removal of soil through rinsing, but it's absorbed into that compound and then removed. So can be very effective, especially when you're using it in conjunction with the encapsulation pre-sprays. So let's see the video on this method.
So what we have here is we're cleaning an area in that same church we did in the last video, and we're going to do an absorbent powder cleaning in this small area here just to show you how it works and how effective it is in comparison to some of the other methods. So once you have it all vacuumed and you've applied your absorbent powder, what you're going to do next is you're going to go over it with the machine. This is the same Brush Pro that we used in some of the other videos, and we're just going to run it over the top of this area that has the absorbent powder, and what that's doing is just agitating that powder. It's flipping it around, it's pushing it into the fibers, and it's just agitating the whole system. And what that's doing is, as the absorbent powder makes contact with the spots or with the carpet that you're working on, it's going to be absorbing the soils out of the carpet. The more you agitate it, the more soil it will have absorbed. The absorbent powder is about the consistency of a wet sawdust. So if you pick it up, it's damp to the touch, it's not soaking wet. If you squeeze it, you're probably not going to get any water out of it, but it is sufficiently dry as well to be able to absorb the soils that are in the carpet into the powder itself. This is a good method if you're going to clean something that has to be in service right away. Directly after it, they need to be using it and walking on it. It's going to be nearly dry once that powder is off the carpet. You might have a slight amount of moisture left, but it's going to be very, very minimal. Now, as you see here, as I'm going over that really dark spot on the end, I'm just hitting half of it so we can kind of see how it's going to react to the absorbent powder. This method isn't as effective on dark stains. So if you do have a dark spot and that just happens to be a coffee spot, you're probably going to have to do a bit of after treatment to get the coffee spot to remove. Now that's probably the same for hot water extraction as well, some of the coffee spots, or really for that matter any of these methods. The encapsulant that I use tends to have a little bit of an oxidizer in it, so it will want to remove those coffee spots a little bit more effectively than just the absorbent powder or a hot water extraction without an oxidizer booster in it. So now what I've done here is I put on what I call the catchers. So now as I roll this over, or I run this over that area, what it's doing is it's picking up all that powder and it's depositing them into the catchers on each end. It works a little bit as very similar to a floor sweeper. So you'd run that over it, and as those brushes spin, you're now going to be picking up all that powder. So that's the nice thing about this Brush Pro system, is you don't have to vacuum it afterwards. You just put those catchers on, run it over that area a couple times, and no need to vacuum. You have it. Now you could vacuum it as well, just to make sure that you have every bit of powder, especially if you're going to be using this on anything other than a level loop. The level loop, there's not a whole lot, there's nowhere for the powder to go. It's just going to be sitting on the surface. But if it's running into a plush, then you're going to have a little bit more of that powder that's going to be sitting down there in between the carpet fibers. So you'll probably want to vacuum it with your regular vacuum after you've done this method. So as you're going over here, you can see that really dark spot there. It did lighten up, as well as some of those other little spots there. They lightened up, but again, you're going to have to do an after treatment. So it's not quite as effective. Now we're going to show you that method I talked about, where they're actually in combination using an encapsulation cleaning product as well as the absorbent powder in conjunction. So they're using them together. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to spray the encapsulant down, and then we're going to go over it with the powder. So again, same way, you're just going to spray a sufficient amount. You want it moist, not sopping wet. Now I'm going to put the powder down about the same amount. You're not going to skimp on the powder. The powder is going to do some absorption as well. So we're getting a kind of more bang for your buck here. You're having a little bit of powder, and then we're going to also have the encapsulation chemical working in conjunction. So when we get the Brush Pro here, and let's run over it, and we're going to see what happens. If it's different, if it's the same, we'll get a good view of that here. So as you go over it, really the same thing I did before, only now it's got the encapsulant down. So what's happening is you can see right away it's very, very effective with the encapsulant. And the only thing you run into here is if you just did the encapsulant alone, in my opinion, it's just as effective. So what you have here is a little bit of wasted product, because I don't believe the absorbent powder is really giving you too much benefit here. What it does really is it runs into a longer cleaning process, because now you have the absorbent powder that now you're going to have to either vacuum off, or if you're using the Brush Pro, we're going to show you that. We're going to pick up the powder afterwards, but now you've wasted a lot of time where you didn't really need to. So does the absorbent powder have its place? Yes. If you need, like I said, something back in use right away, then yes, you probably could use it quite a bit in that kind of facility. But it's not as effective as the Encap, even by itself. It seems to, working in conjunction, it's working about the same as the encapsulant by itself. So, in my opinion, it has a place, but it's very, very rare that you would need to use something like this. So here I'm going to put the canisters back on, and I'll speed up the video a little bit, and we'll just kind of go through that extraction process. So just like we did before, we just clip the bins on to capture the residual powder, and then you just proceed to go over the top of that area. Just keep going over the area till it's all gone. So you might do one pass or two passes depending on the carpet that you're going over. And after that, you are ready to proceed. So now as you see towards the end here, you can see that we don't have any of the spots that we did on the other one when we just did the absorbent powder. All those spots are gone, and that is the work of the encapsulant, fixing that. Now here's a shot of a little bit of the powder there. That's the starting powder. And then after it, I'll put down a little bit of the used powder. You can see it is doing its job. It is pulling that soil out. Next, I'm going to cover dry foam. Unless you're doing a lot of commercial cleaning, you're probably not going to use this method, but it's worth going over, and it has its place. It uses a system or a machine that produces a 90% dry foam, so there's very little water in this method, and it's going to dry really quick. The foam then is driven into the carpet and agitated with a rotating brush. When the foam makes contact with the soil in the carpet, it's going to emulsify the soils and the oil on the fibers, and it's going to be suspended in the foam. The machines move forward. The dirty foam is then extracted out of the carpet and back into the machine. A defoamer is used to turn that foam back into a liquid so it's not clogging the vacuum. Remember, the method does dry really fast. It's used primarily in large commercial that needs to be back in use really quickly. Casinos use this method a lot. You'll see them shut down an area, run this machine over it, and then within an hour they're back up and running in that section of the building. So really fast, really economical, very little training. It's just a couple of switches. They come in all different sizes as well. This is a smaller unit. You can get one that is about twice as wide as that. They also have riding ones where you can actually stand on the back and ride it. So very good for commercial. Disadvantages is the residue. You'll notice somebody that's used a dry foam cleaning. If you go over it with a wet cleaning like a hot water extraction, it will instantly foam up. One note to make: if your consumer has purchased a Kirby vacuum with a dry foam attachment or a carpet cleaning attachment, this is what you're going to run into. If they've been cleaning with the Kirby system, then you're going to try to hot water extract it, and you're going to create a tremendous amount of foam. Have a defoamer on your van, because if you run into this and you don't have a defoamer, you're not going to be able to clean it. It will literally clog your vacuum with foam in a matter of seconds. You'll lose all your suction and you won't be able to hot water extract this carpet. So make sure you have some defoamer, because this does happen. It's not really common, but there's a lot of Kirby vacuums out there, and a lot of people have bought that shampoo attachment that they call it, or carpet cleaning attachment, and it is a dry foam chemical, and it will quickly stop you from being able to clean a carpet if you don't have defoamer on you. Also, it works well, but there is limited soil removal. The vacuums on these units aren't real strong, so as they're sucking that foam back out of the carpet, there's a sufficient amount of foam that's left behind, and that foam does contain soil, so they're unable to get a lot of soil out, and the residue that is left can be fairly sticky. It's important that if you're using this method that you keep a schedule. You don't want to let the clean carpet get really dirty. You want to make sure you keep on top of it, because that residue is going to be a little bit sticky. It's going to try to get dirty quicker on you. So make sure that you go over that area periodically so you're not letting it get really heavily soiled. So let's look at the video for dry foam. This video is produced by the Von Schrader Company. It's going to show you how to do a dry foam cleaning using one of the machines that they manufacture.
Before you start, it is important to thoroughly vacuum the carpets. If you can, remove all of the furniture from the carpet cleaning area. If that is impossible, move the furniture to the room's middle and clean along the walls first. Then move the furniture back to clean the center of the room. Pre-spraying. Pre-spraying the carpet is recommended for faster and better cleaning results, especially on extremely soiled conditions. Von Schrader's Before pre-spray loosens heavy soil and impacted grease. This makes it easy for the foam and brush to penetrate and loosen dirt. Mix according to the label's instructions, 4 parts water to 1 part concentrate. The Von Schrader sprayer is ideal for pre-spray applications. Apply pre-spray lightly over heavily soiled areas and wait 10 minutes before cleaning. Detergent preparation. Most carpet today is made with synthetic fibers. When cleaning carpet fibers such as nylon, polypropylene, polyester, and acrylic, Von Schrader's high pH detergent should be used. When cleaning all natural fiber content carpets such as wool, cotton, or woolen synthetic blends, the Von Schrader low pH detergent will give you optimum performance with a high safety margin. Always use a clean bucket when mixing Von Schrader detergent solutions. Mix 4 to 6 ounces of detergent per gallon of warm water. Use 4 ounces if carpet is lightly soiled and 6 ounces if carpet is heavily soiled. Carpet cleaning techniques. When cleaning higher profile carpet, determine what direction the lay of the carpet is. Run a thumbnail through the pile and find what direction the carpet moves easiest. This is the direction the pile lays. This procedure is not necessary when cleaning short pile or low pile carpets. The idea is to move the machine in the same direction as the pile lays. This increases cleaning efficiency and reduces the effort required to push the machine. Plan to clean the carpet in long strips from one end of the room to the other. Work towards the room's entrance or exit. In smaller rooms, clean in one direction. In larger rooms, clean in 2 directions like you are mowing a lawn. Start your first pass from a position against the right or left wall. Turn both switches to the on position. At the same time, press down on the handle just enough to lift the front end. The brush should just barely touch the carpet. Move the machine back and forth slowly to allow foam to build up evenly across the width of the brush. Note that there is a removable detergent foam retaining skirt that extends around the front and sides of the unit. Slowly push the machine straight forward across the carpet at a rate of 10 to 20 feet per minute. Soiling conditions will affect your cleaning rate. Observe your cleaning pass. If it appears evenly clean without any excess foam remaining on the carpet, you are cleaning at the proper rate. If excess foam remains, move the machine more rapidly. If the cleaning pass is streaked or uneven, move at a slower rate. When you are about 2 to 3 feet from the opposite wall, turn off the foam switch so no more foam is generated. There will be enough remaining to clean the final 2 inches along the wall by hand after finishing the main carpet area. When you reach the opposite wall, turn off the brush motor switch. Then tilt the machine back on its rear roller and pull it backward on the dirty carpet area to the beginning of your first pass. Turn on both switches and wait a few seconds for foam to build up. Then clean a second strip next to the first. Make sure you overlap the 2 strips by 3 inches so you don't miss any spots.
So now that we've seen all these methods, it's important to remember your goal. If you watched me clean these areas, you'll notice that all of the techniques I used use the 4 principles. So they're all going to use a matter of chemical, they're all going to have some time, they're all going to have agitation, and they're all going to employ some sort of heat. Now, as you saw, some have more agitation than others, some use more heat than others, some use more chemical than others, some have stronger chemicals, but they're using all 4 of the principles. You can't skip any one of the 4 principles without compensating with the other 3. The main thing is to remember, clean the carpet to the best of your ability. Give the customer what they deserve. Provide that customer with stellar service. Whatever technique you use, excel at that technique. Be the best. Don't let anybody out-clean you. Don't let anybody outperform you. Learn as much as you can, and then use everything you learn. I'll be providing you with as much information as I possibly can. And remember, if you have any questions, contact me. Don't run into a situation where you don't know how to do it and then not contact me and try to do it yourself. Make sure you know for sure what you're doing. And it all goes back to providing that client with the best service that their money can buy. They're paying you to do a job. Do it right, and you will be rewarded. All right, that's it for cleaning systems. I'll see you in the next module.